So
They're well paid whether
I don't
they
know
take
how
this
or
case
why,
or
but
not.
we actually dropped.
I mean, they have a full docket whether they accept or reject this case, and I don't think.
Which just goes to show those who study history might still be wrong, which is kind of scary when you think about it, because the saying is those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it, and here he is actually studying it and still being wrong.
We should
remember what I just said. They won't rule there was genocide. Remember what I said.
Also, I recommend people actually read the case and follow through a lot of the quotes. That they just don't show genocidal intent.
I don't think so either.
The Israeli Minister of Finance on the 8th of October, 2023, this is taken from the ICJ, this is from South African Submission, Bezalel Smotrich, I can't read this, stated, there you go, okay, at a meeting of the Israeli cabinet that, quote, we need to deal a blow that hasn't been seen in 50 years and take down Gaza, end quote. But again, if you click through and you read the source, their own linked source, it says, as per this own source, quote, the powerful finance minister, settler leader Bezalel Smotrich, I can't pronounce this, demanded at the cabinet meeting late Saturday that the army, quote, hit Hamas brutally and not take the matter of the captives into significant consideration, end quote. Quote, in war, as in war, you have to be brutal, end quote. He was quoted as saying, quote, we need to deal a blow that hasn't been seen in 50 years and take down Gaza, end quote. You can't strip the quotation of Hamas, a entity that you're at war with, and then pretend that there's genocidal intent. That's not how it works.
I think we need to play video games because I don't need to comment as much on video games. And this is making me angry. Let's just take one quote that he spent. We literally saw him at his little iPad thing, scrolling, chatter, scrolling, until he found something that he could maybe latch onto. And then he took the most disingenuous interpretation of that. First of all, I served in the Air Force. Do you know what they don't teach you in the military? In the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the Geneva Conventions, or the United Nations, or NATO? Do you know what they don't take? Do you know what they don't teach you in counterterrorism? That you need to be brutal against an enemy, and that you need to target a civilian occupied settlement area that might have terrorists in it as well. That, again, I was in the military, in the United States military, and sure, indoctrinated, you can claim that all day long, but the training that I received stated unequivocally that civilian casualties shall be kept to an absolute minimum, and that the rules of engagement shall dictate to what that might be, but you still have the right and the authority, never mind the obligation, to disobey orders that you feel would violate international law. So, brutally attacking Hamas as a response to a attack from October 7th that results in 36,000 civilian casualties over the course of 6 months, the majority of whom are children, is not brutality. That's genocide. And it looks like we have an ad break coming up in 1 minute and 53 seconds. So looks like we can all see that. I could snooze it, but I kind of almost need an ad break.
Genocide.
So when the Ukrainians say we need to defeat Russia,
that's not genocide.
No. When Ukraine says we need to defeat Russia, is that genocidal? Do they mean killing all Russian citizens?
I can see right now that if I debated Destiny, if for whatever reason I found myself sitting across the table with Destiny in the room and we were having a discussion, I'm pretty certain most of my reaction would be this. And a lot of, and a little bit of this, because I'd be trying to unravel the hoops and the pretzel twisting that he is engaging in. Like, this is some fourth dimensional geometry, chess, like manipulation of reality to come and say something so disingenuous to say that if Ukraine wants to defeat Russia, that's genocidal, when Russia is an invading force to Ukraine. In exactly the same way Israel is an invading force to the Palestinians, which has been upheld multiple times at the international level, is self-defense, and therefore the invadee, that state, always has the intrinsic right to defend itself and to liberate itself from an aggressor. Like, come on. And I think, yeah, with 11 seconds left, I mean, I'll still talk to the people who, but I'm not doing so hot. I don't understand his point either. No asylum has right to make their one country, same as immigrants in Europe. You can't create Islam empire there. Yeah, right, exactly. You can't just be an immigrant and be like, yep, this is our place now, and then call it a day. I mean, imagine if the Italians had created Little Italy, or the Chinese immigrants had created Little China. We say Chinatown, we say Italy, Little Italy, and all that fun stuff, but that's just where immigrants happen to be. They didn't try and carve out their own government. Big difference. They also never mentioned that Hamas attacked military targets on 10/7. Well, that's because all of the focus on 10/7 was the concert, which is exactly why I think the concert is a false flag orchestrated by Israel, who may have actually, it may have been committed by actual Hamas fighters, because that's what Al Jazeera was able to report. But I'm fairly certain those fighters were held under duress for other reasons and forced to commit that atrocity. And again, the Hamas attacked military targets on October 7th. So it's just, the response is clearly Israel trying to justify its actions in history. 10, 20 years from now, 5 years from now, hopefully later this year, we'll find that Israel has unequivocally been the aggressor and the bad actor in all this. I think I would jump across the table. He gets under my skin. Kind of. But, he makes me angry now watching him. Like, seriously, dude, I'd punch you straight in the mouth, right? Because I'm here, he's there, we're watching it, and it's reactive. But it's different when you're actually there, because then you know what you're expecting. You're like, okay. And you can put yourself in a frame of mind. At that point, you're playing a chess game or a boxing match or whatever have you. Here, you are literally reacting. It's like, wow, if this was just a bubble and I had to watch this and there was no chance of interaction, you would make me mad enough to want to hit you, because that's ridiculous. But in a debate, it's a whole different ball game. You get yourself in a different mindset, and you just let them talk themselves into circles, and then you're like, okay. So then you pull that one little thread, and it's like, this is your argument, and this is how it unravels. Yeah. Yemen, definitely. Saudi Arabia, definitely. Just all sorts of mess in the Middle East, and we're not helping it.
Professor Morris, here's another one. When the defense, ridiculous.
Yes, ridiculous.
The American judge.
He also doesn't determine policy.
The American judge read.
You are holding the American judge to.
Well, she was the president.
Because he'll appeal to authority when it agrees with him, and we won't deal with the actual facts of the matter ever.
Okay. The American judge.
That shit pisses me off, though. I'm not gonna lie. The facts matter. Buddy, you haven't said anything truthful, and the things that you quote from your paper, you make as disingenuous of a solution or extraction point from that as you possibly can. So facts don't matter, buddy. Like, it obviously makes me mad, and you'd probably be able to see it in my face sitting across the table. That, or I would just be laughing hysterically at this point. Saudi Arabia doesn't get boycotts, which is true, but I also don't know what Saudi products are sold in America. Chemicals and stuff. Okay, what Saudi companies are in American stores? So Saudi Arabia has large investments in Amazon and Walmart and rideshare and Uber and all that fun stuff, and those do get boycotted. Then Aramco is an oil company that operates. So yeah, there's always, trust me, there's some boycotting happening.
Read several of the quotes.
Look at the American Supreme Court today. They may support Trump. It shows you how worthy American judges are.
Professor Morris, without going too far afield, if you heard a statement by the defense minister said, we are going to prevent any food, water, fuel, or electricity from entering Gaza.
Do that.
He wanted to make
Did Israel do that?
Okay, no, I'm wondering.
What he said.
I'm asking you.
Isn't Israeli government policy?
But we're talking about statements now, intent. How would you interpret that?
After 1,200 of your citizens are murdered the way they were, I would expect extreme statements by lots of politicians. By lots of politicians.
But you don't accept extreme
But that's not
Palestinian
Israeli policy.
Wait, but you don't accept.
What he said isn't Israeli policy.
But you don't.
They let in water. They let in gas.
I'm sure
But you don't.
And then that's the other fun thing that conservatives love to do in debates is just keep talking until the other person either stops talking, gives up, or tries to talk over them, and then it sounds like, hens clucking. I'm really not doing great with this voice thing. Let's find. I believe I fixed the screen for Elden Ring. Yeah, so we got Elden Ring. Very good. And Ruben, no problem. I'm theoretically, I know several languages myself, so I understand the difficulty of trying to balance multiple languages at times. But I read Hamas leader has millions of dollars of home in Qatar. Not really, because if they did, they would have put up a much bigger fight against Israel, and they most certainly did not. Why? Can I just please type in here? All right, I guess we're gonna have to go back to this screen so I can actually type in here. Supreme Court supports abortion pill. Don't mind my typing, folks. Sure, why not? We don't want to listen to that music.
Well, then leave
Can
her
we?
gas.
I hate this.
Allie, stand by. We have some breaking news right now from the Supreme Court on the abortion pill case. Let's go right to NBC's Yamiche Alcindor, who is outside the court. Yamiche, this decision just dropped. I know you have to have a moment to look through it to really get into the details, but what do we know right now?
What we know right now is that the Supreme Court has dismissed this misoprostol case, meaning that this access to this abortion pill, as we have it right now, remains standing. It's a unanimous decision, which of course this is in some ways noteworthy because this is a 6-3 majority conservative court. But they're saying that the doctors who brought this lawsuit against the FDA challenging access to the abortion pill, that they lack standing. So this is really punting it, saying that this will continue to have access. So if you're a woman who's wondering whether or not you will have access to this abortion pill, for now, mifepristone continues to be accessible through telehealth, through mail. This is a big decision. Of course, the Supreme Court just 2 years ago overturned Roe v. Wade. This is another big decision from the Supreme Court regarding abortion. We should note that the majority of abortions in this country, something like 63%, happen through a medication abortion. So this pill means that a number of women are going to still have access to that medication.
Okay, Yamiche, keep looking at this decision, if you will. I want to bring in right now Leah Littman, and she's one of our legal analysts. Leah, my understanding is the Supreme Court is saying this pill can stay on the market as is. As Yamiche just mentioned, 63% of abortions in the U.S. in the last year were through abortion medications or use this type of medication as part of the process. So I guess what does this mean right now when it comes to abortion access in America?
So in the short term, you're right. This decision overrules the lower court's orders that had ordered additional restrictions.
So I guess as a proper YouTube streamer, what I should have been doing is like, hey, chat, what should we be playing as Elden Ring? Hey, chat, what character should I build? Hey, chat, what should I name them? But you know what? I'm playing Elden Ring, damn it. And I am naming my samurai warrior Pain. She is going to be a woman of color because we need that representation, okay? She's going to have that samurai back look hair because that's badass looking. And we're going to go with the samurai build because according to the internet, the best builds, samurai bleed dex build, you want to go and do samurai. And then the bleed effect is one of the most fun using a melee weapon, and I love playing melee. And then, so yeah, then there's the Ashes of War and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go get our dexterity up to 55, our strength up to 40. We're going to have Uchi-Guchi Tanas. And then, yeah, I don't know how far we're actually going to get, but that's why we do it this way. We are going to definitely be okay with starting like that. So for us, I had to learn English when I was 13. It's a pain to learn. I wish no matter which language you're learning, it wouldn't be a pain. That's true. If only our education system actually would encourage that.
Tell a story.
That's fine. Neither are most Americans. You get your point across. Ain't that the truth? I'm an American, and I don't speak good most time anyway.
The great Elden Ring was shattered.
So this is the opening for Elden Ring.
In our home, across the fog, the lands between.
I like how I inadvertently perfectly placed all this stuff so the text was visible for the screen.
Queen Marika the Eternal is nowhere to be found.
And once this cutscene plays,
and in the night of the Black
it's been a minute.
Nights, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish.
That's from Dark Souls 1.
Soon, Marika's offspring, demigods all, claimed the shards of the Elden Ring. The mad taint of their newfound strength triggered the shattering.
I can't believe I perfectly positioned all that. I'm kind of a little proud of myself.
From which no lord arose.
Oh, that's Melania. Good thing I'm not trying to stream to win.
A war leading to abandonment by the greater will. Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Horalu, chieftain of the Badlands.
Zombie Jesus?
The ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion.
Oh my.
The loathsome dung-eater.
Gross.
And Sir Gideon Othmere, the all-knowing.
Pretty epic intro there. Okay. When I took Italian and Spanish classes, they spent a great majority on conjugations and pronouns. When it came time for the end of the course state city name exams, like with the oral exam part, I was clueless on what to say when prompted.
Would again bless.
That's rough. I took the German battery class in the military, and I scored 3, and you had to score 3.5 to get paid.
Cross the fog to the lands between. To stand before the Elden Ring.
And fair warning, I'm not good.
and become the Elden Lord.
It is definitely true what they say. You become less dexterous the older you get, less reaction time, and obviously I don't practice the game like I used to play, you know, Dark Souls for hours upon hours. So don't expect me to be one of those great elite players here, but we're gonna have some fun. When we had the end of semester Spanish test, I frantically searched for anything that could possibly be asked of me. I was in luck when I found a section and committed to memorize something. Like, take out the trash. It shouldn't have to come to this. Exactly. A lot of, like how I learned Latin was mostly memorization of vocabulary. And then I got really advanced because I knew a lot of the words, and I kind of could figure out what it meant through reading comprehension. But when it came to actually writing Latin, and I didn't actually know how or when to use the grammar, that's when it got kind of rough. I can't imagine how the Arabs and the Chinese learn English. Yeah, because their alphabet is exponentially different than ours. Crazy. I watched School for Military in America, where they study about 50 languages. Yeah, that's the linguist school, and it's an intelligence career in the military where you actually learn languages. All right, so Elden Ring and Elden Ring. And we're going to listen
or have ordered the FDA to remove the medication abortion drug from the market entirely. And so in that sense, it preserves the status quo for medication abortion, ensuring that doctors and patients can access the drug, because they concluded that the plaintiffs who brought this case, a group of anti-abortion doctors, did not establish that they were sufficiently likely to be injured because of the availability of medication abortion, which of course is an extremely safe drug. However, it's important to note that what the court's opinion did not do is they did not rule out the possibility of what's known as a Comstock Act challenge in the future. The Comstock Act is an 1873 Victorian-era law that some Republicans, including lower court judges, have suggested actually amounts to a nationwide ban on not just medication abortion, but the abortion procedure as well. And so it's possible that in a future Republican administration, you could see a Republican president and attorney general invoke the Comstock Act to argue that medication abortion cannot be distributed. This case does not rule out that possibility. It merely concludes that the anti-abortion doctors who brought this case were not actually injured and therefore could not take the medication abortion drug off the market themselves.
It's not very reassuring, folks, that that didn't actually protect abortion. It was just like, in this one instance, nothing actually happened, so therefore you don't have a case. But if Trump gets into office, or somebody else, God forbid, the door is still wide open to ban abortion at the state level or even at the federal level. So this is not as good as it was made out to be, unfortunately, but we'll keep listening.
So what you're saying is they did not rule on the merits. They simply said that the challengers to the FDA decision here in the approval did not have standing, and so therefore others could potentially file suit again, and this could eventually bubble back up. But just to be clear, right now, this means nothing changes when it comes to this abortion pill access. That means all of the things that they were looking at that had been approved in later years following the original approval in 2000, like the ability to get this medication through the mail, like only having to do one doctor visit instead of 3, like being able to access medication up to 10 weeks in gestation versus just 7. All of those things remain. But Leah, we know there is another abortion-related case that the Supreme Court is still looking at. Does this decision have any implications or set any expectations for where they could go in that other case, the one dealing with Idaho's abortion ban?
I don't think the court's ruling on the medication abortion case suggests what the court might do one way or another on the case involving the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act and TALA. That's the case where the Biden administration is arguing that that federal law requires states to allow hospitals to perform abortions in cases that may be necessary to save a woman's health, bodily organs, bodily function. Because in this case, the medication abortion case, the court merely said these plaintiffs, the doctors, were not injured and did not, as you said, engage with the merits, that is, whether medication abortion is lawful or could be restricted for some reasons. It just doesn't say whether the court is going to say on the merits or what it might say on the merits in the Idaho case.
I want to bring in Minnie Timaraju. She is the president of Reproductive Freedom for All. Minnie, I'm apologizing for saying your last name wrong, I believe. But thank you so much for joining us. We know the Alliance.
So there's some things that need to be addressed here real quick. First, yeah, no damages to the doctors. Previous cases and decisions unaffected, but doors still wide open for anti-abortion behaviors.
Fortune is on her side. We found her here after all.
Can I pause? Is that a thing? Can I pause?
Sure to seek.
Looks like all I can do is skip. I don't want to skip it just yet. It's not what I wanted to do. I guess I'm still gonna struggle with playing video games, talking, and addressing things when there's cutscenes. At least if I was playing Age of Empires, I could just pause. But I don't want to. This is kind of like, this is going to be our little journey. This is the game that we play. I guess I should be playing chess or something. I don't know. But then that's timed, and then I'll lose. Because you can't pause. We'll figure it out, fam. We will figure this out. No worries. All right, are we good? Are we good? All right, we're good. Okay, so, let's see. They had us do pen pals for Italian class in junior high. I mean, if it was that. I dearly loved my Italian teacher, but she didn't prep me well enough to be able to understand the letters I was sent from someone from another country without heavily relying on the dictionary and then struggling on how to respond back. Yeah, there is such thing as, like, overwhelming effort to teach, right? If you've only been learning the basics and then you're being told how to, like, hey, this is how you read and write prose, and you're barely at vocabulary, that's not good teaching. That's overwhelming. And then in regards to abortion, no politician should be dictating this based on their own views. If they don't like it, don't use it. And that's exactly right. I am not a woman. Therefore, I, a man, should not have any right over what a woman can do with her body, especially when it comes to medical practices. That should be dictated between her and her doctor. That's why I am very pro-choice. Very pro-choice. And I would like to see it be a federal standard and override all of the states who have been trying to do otherwise and hold them criminally accountable. Is it true that young American boys should join the military? There is the draft, but it hasn't been implemented since Vietnam. I guess it's being brought back due to retention issues, but it's not going to be used because, again, whether it's a Republican or a Democratic president, it's going to cause significant outrage. Yeah, give me a second.
For Hippocratic Medicine, the group that had challenged the FDA's approval of mifepristone had asked for mifepristone to be banned in every state, even in the ones where abortion is protected by state law. And that's what we're seeing, right, is that each individual state right now is able to implement its own laws. Does this decision impact the fight over abortion or reproductive health restrictions at the state level?
Yes. I mean, this case, first of all, I want to start by saying This case should never have been heard. The court made it very clear that the plaintiffs didn't have lacked standing, and there was a larger global issue here about FDA authority, right? The original case was disputing the FDA's authority to approve mifepristone 20 some odd years ago. Medication abortion is safe. It's been legal for over 20 years. It is safer than Tylenol. So those are sort of the fundamentals of the case. But now what we're looking at is, how does this affect abortion bans? We always thought this case, by we abortion rights advocates, was a way to implement a backdoor abortion ban, to restrict abortion access in states that have made abortion legal, including states that have constitutional protections in their states for abortion. What this decision does today is it clears the path. It clears the path for states to ramp up access to abortion, medication abortion, like California has done, really opening up medication abortion access to folks from other states. It clears a lot of uncertainty for practitioners and providers in states without abortion bans, but it also makes it easier for folks in states with abortion bans to travel and access abortion care through telemedicine, through brick and mortar pharmacies. It makes sure medication abortion is accessible and legal in all 50 states. It also is a big win for the Biden administration and the FDA. It solidifies their authority, and it shows that they're willing to use all the tools in the toolbox to fight back against these bans.
Mini Donald Trump has repeatedly said that he thinks abortion should be up to the states. So do you think this decision will...
They're getting birth control wrong. The logic would then be that they don't get abortion pills and whatnot. Exactly. That's exactly, I mean, that's the nail on the head. It's the slippery slope, and it's not about women's health or rights or life or whatever else. It's control. That's always what it comes down to, is that controlling women's bodies is about control, right? I mean, it's in the name, right? But it's also because if women aren't getting pregnant and aren't being forced to give birth and aren't being forced to be in debt to the hospitals after giving birth, it means they can't be controlled, which means they can't produce more workers, which means the economy can't go on, which means, right? It's this insidious cycle that is just unending, because we do not have people with the fortitude to stand up to this kind of rhetoric, or a community rather that can actually support candidates who would stand up to that kind of rhetoric, which is again what this stream is about.
Impact at all where he lands on this issue if he's elected?
No. I think Donald Trump has been pretty clear over and over again that he is very proud of overturning Roe. He brags about it. He makes it, whenever he's in front of an anti-abortion crowd, he's really unequivocal about how proud he is to overturn Roe, and that he thinks actually patients and providers should be punished. He's also really intertwined with the folks behind Project 2025. His advisors are talking about using the Comstock Act, a 1800s law, to circumvent Congress and push a national federal abortion ban. And he's also talked about restricting access to contraception. So I don't think this is going to change much about where Donald Trump stands. I do think that there are going to be Republican efforts to hide their positions on this, but it's pretty hard to do so when you're on the record bragging about the fundamental case that's led to this catastrophe in this country, and that was Dobbs.
Oh, here we go. Oh, it is Max. Max Dark. Well, I guess that's not what we're getting. I can't. Let's see. I'm gonna maximize my screen and hopefully I notice whether or not we drop. I agree with abortions, but should expert suggestions. The problem is we have the right for abortions. Would a doctor want to abort? That's kind of the point, though, right? The doctor and the patient would be deciding on whether or not that's the best thing to do. And if it's the desire of the patient to get one, then the doctor would, in fact, be obligated. And now we're getting into the ethics of it. Well, if the doctor believes that they shouldn't do abortions, then the doctor could refuse, right? But at the same time, we could simply mandate that if you are a doctor and a practicing physician in women's health, by becoming a doctor in women's health and getting the license and you are committing to supporting a woman who wants to get an abortion. So it's catch-22 as far as that goes. And this wasn't even the right. That wasn't the right either. What the hell? What the hell music is playing right now? What was that? I'm trying. Move, you stupid thing. My God. This is super frustrating. I cannot read that. Where was... Oh, did I link these differently? Oh my God, this is frustrating. Twitch is hard, guys. Twitch is hard. All right, we're just... So these three are linked with the same YouTube. This one's its own. This is its own. We need limit for abortion. I can't above 6 months. No. I mean, you can think that all you want, but that's your belief, right? There are medical reasons and justifications for 6 months and above. It's very rare. It's very unfortunate. And it's typically not a whim at that point. Usually a woman that has to consider abortion at that point in the pregnancy is quite prepared to go through with the whole pregnancy. And so it's a traumatic experience that, again, the government should have no say in denying or limiting when the situation may arise. So no, I will, up to and including the highest version of an abortion, disagree with me, don't like it, whatever. It's not my body, and it's not my right to dictate what somebody else does with their body. So I'm gonna just, what I'm gonna have to do, unless this thing wants to freeze some more. So I'm gonna expand this real quick so I can actually see. Then, what's a good topic, maybe? Let's go to the home page. Let's go to news. What's going on? What's going on? Ooh, okay, that's a good one.
Strange, scary, and shocking that this mindset is on the United States Supreme Court. It shows the need for leadership by the Chief Justice.
Senator Blumenthal discussing these latest revelations about Justice Samuel Alito's judgment, ethics, and some of the way he has apparently been misleading to the government about his own recent conduct. Tonight, Senate Democrats, though, are going on offense. I've mentioned this bill before. Tonight, they're trying to get a vote on an ethics bill, which would require a more binding...
After the New York Times reported that two flags associated with the January 6th insurrection had flown at the homes of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, the justice defended himself last month in a letter by putting the blame squarely on his wife, Martha Ann Alito. I was not familiar with the appeal to heaven flag when my wife flew it. I was not aware of any connection between the historic flag and the...
I am now getting annoyed. Stop. Go to the home. Go to news. Turns up the heat.
Binding approach to ethics and conduct for the Supreme Court, including a new investigating mechanism so that violations of ethics rules would actually be dealt with rather than allowing justices to police themselves, which is clearly failing. Now, you can see the bill is under debate right now on the Senate floor. You can see Democratic Senator Welch there making his arguments. The Democrats are largely aligned on this issue. The majority of the caucus.
So, again, Ruben, I don't care if a woman wants to get an abortion every single Tuesday for fun. I don't care if she wants to sell every single one of her eggs. I don't really care what she does with her body. That's the point. The point is the government does not have the right to tell her that she can't sell her eggs, that she can't get abortions every Tuesday, that she can't get an abortion that is medically necessary at the 6th, 7th, 8th, or even 9th month, right? Just because an infant may very well be viable, if it kills the mother, right, she might want to live. And that should be her choice to make. And it's a difficult choice that she would have to make. It's an awful choice that she might have to make. But it is hers to make. Not mine, not yours, not anybody else that might be watching, and most certainly not anybody with any amount of power. So.
Has already co-sponsored the ethics bill. And all of this comes against the bombshell comments that Alito made, secretly recorded by an activist,
I went the
Lauren
exact
Windsor.
wrong way.
In that tape, Alito talks about many things. We've covered some of that, but he also goes after an investigative outlet, ProPublica, that has actually just been reporting facts. I want to be clear about this. What ProPublica has largely done is revealed things, including things about gifts and other hidden activities that now Justice Thomas and others have had to acknowledge, exposed for lavish trips and millions of dollars over the years in gifts. Here's one of the recordings.
Just completely unacceptable.
Why do you think so attacked and being so targeted by the media these days?
Well, I think it's a simple reason they don't like
look at me, I'm
decisions, and they don't like
one shot.
How they anticipate when they decide some cases.
Two shots.
And there are groups that are very well funded.
Oh, you thought you had me.
Ideological.
Big swing.
ProPublica gets a lot of money, and they have spent a fortune investigating crimes on the system. Everything that he's ever done in his entire life. And they've done some of that to me too.
Those are some of Justice Alito's apparently unvarnished thoughts. There are groups that spend money on the left, right, and across the spectrum dealing with legal issues in the Supreme Court. But again, some of the key exposés here have uncovered facts that were hidden, especially for Justice Thomas. Now, Windsor, we should note, approaches conservatives and sort of pretends to be an ally and then secretly records the comments. So that's a context for what you're hearing. The growing crisis of confidence also highlighting a lot of problems for Republicans. Today, Republican senators said that what are basic terms here, remember, Thomas took millions of dollars, some of it in secret. Members of Congress would be in a lot of trouble for secretly doing that.
What was that?
In an effort to, I guess, defend anything on the court, Republican senators are saying that this would interfere to have basic ethics rules.
What?
I think it's just a campaign of harassment against the Supreme Court in order to try to undermine public confidence, and I think it's dangerous, frankly.
It's absurd. And to threaten funding, I mean, remember, they're an independent branch of government. I mean, that's...
Yeah. You can't pause Elden Ring, as it turns out. Make sure we get everything and then try and alt screen, shall we? I don't think there's any more baddies. So, what this man just said is the funding. Think about the funding. What about the corporations? Are you shitting me? Like, I'm not trying to swear. Maybe I'm getting into gamer mode now, and I probably shouldn't be. And we still got an hour and a half of this. But yeah, this is so disingenuous because they have been trying to manipulate the courts and have been stacking the courts since the Trump administration. They literally did it to Obama by preventing Merrick Garland's nomination to the Supreme Court. And now they're like, well, come on. They have to be able to take bribes. I mean, donations. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make the right decision. I mean, think about the cases in front of them. You know, with a clear conscience, you know, while they're sipping Mai Tais on a $500,000 vacation. I mean, when they are talking with when they're really thinking about the issues. It's obscene. Yeah. That's the state of American politics.
This would be an unconstitutional overreach. This would undermine the court's ability to operate effectively. And it's been a continued effort by our friends on the Democratic side to undermine a court they don't like.
Now, there are a lot of debates about the Supreme Court, and
that is audacious because that piece of human filth, not him, this guy, this son of a gun, was literally part of the cabal that prevented the Obama nomination to the Supreme Court for 9 months while Obama was still president, while the election was far from decided between if it would be a Democrat or Republican. This piece of human trash prevented Merrick Garland from getting the nomination, and then he had the audacity to call out Dems. This is the problem with conservative mindsets. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some conservatives, I'm sure, that are out there that aren't asshats like this. But that kind of disingenuous rhetoric is why we have such a massive partisan divide in our country. And it is dangerous. Extremely dangerous.
Constitutional overreach. This would undermine the court's ability to operate effectively. And it's been a continued effort by our friends on the Democratic side to undermine a court they don't like.
What a scumbag. What an actual scumbag.
There are a lot of debates about this Supreme Court. And it is certainly true that Democrats in the Senate and writ large have been very critical of a bunch of the court's decisions. But the bill tonight is not about punishing or let alone trying to reverse those decisions which Congress cannot do. It is a very straightforward bill to mandate some ethics in the face of these ethics violations. And it is striking to see the party of so-called limited government, the Republicans, not only oppose that, but apparently, and again, we're covering this as it happens, potentially filibuster it so there can't be a vote in the United States about whether or not the public, through their representatives, want to have binding ethics on our Supreme Court. We mentioned ProPublica. Well, we have a special guest tonight. ProPublica reporter Justin Elliott, who's been extensively reporting on the Supreme Court on these issues. Thanks for being here, Justin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
First, given the comments from Justice Alito, any response from you?
You cracked the case.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to game so I'm not talking as much. And I'm trying to let this play. So there's something
Candidly,
political
I find
happening.
it surprising because what he's saying, the allegation that our reporting specifically was ideologically motivated because we didn't like the court's decisions. I mean, it's just speculation, surprising coming from a Supreme Court justice because it's based on no facts. I can tell you because I and a couple of my colleagues are the ones that did the reporting. This reporting started very organically. We were looking at the travel practices originally of all of the Supreme Court justices. We looked very hard at some of the Democratic appointed justices, and we simply haven't found, examples of like George Soros funding the life of Elena Kagan or something like that. There's no evidence that anything like that has happened at this point. What we found is that Justice Thomas and Alito are outliers.
Yeah, that's an important point you're making. That what he said there was an assertion. He was asserting that this was targeting or solely focused on him or Thomas for their views. And you're saying on the record tonight, because you did the reporting with your colleagues, that that's false, that you looked at all the justices and looking at, again, thanks to your reporting, we'll put up just the Thomas chart. People can take in the facts themselves, but it would look like the type of money that Thomas is taking, sometimes dwarfing his salary, would be the issue that would get engender. And
I'm gonna have to make another tab or something so that is this following the same thing? Oh, good, it is. Perfect. Because yeah, that's, look at that. $4 million, like this is far and above and away. Just straight up. This is straight up accepting bribes. This is straight up collusion. There is no other way to describe Justice Thomas than corrupt and taking money for his decisions, which is just unacceptable. Like I don't give a damn if you're a Republican or a Democrat. This should disgust and offend you as an American. We'll let that continue now.
More coverage for him. So go ahead to the point you were making.
Yeah, I mean, again, how this started, again, I'm the one that did it with my colleagues, is we had a stack of U.S. Marshals documents that were highly redacted detailing the travel of justices, and we started picking out references to private jets. Didn't even have the justices' names there, so we didn't know who we were looking at. Through months of reporting, we were able to piece together these original stories showing that Justice Thomas was having his life subsidized by a major political donor, billionaire Harlan Crow, paying for luxury vacations, private jets, and the like. Later learned and reported that Harlan Crow, for example, was paying private school tuition for Justice Thomas's relative that he was raising as a son. If we found, during that reporting, or if we found now again that there was some liberal billionaire doing something similar for Justice Sotomayor, we would be happy to report that. And if anyone out there has any information, you can find my contact info very easily on our stories. So that's the first thing I would say. Justice Alito also said that ProPublica had spent a fortune, I think was his word, on this. And, I guess the definition of that term is debatable, but we're talking about the salary of a few reporters and some travel expenses. So, we're just, the tools for this work are a telephone and a computer.
Yeah, all very interesting to get you on the record on that. We're looking at live images here of the Senate floor. I believe Senator Coons speaking. I mentioned that this has political overtones. I think to fairly cover the Supreme Court, there's a strong set of reactions. You could call them political, ideological. You could say they're about rights. But people care a lot for those reasons. And yet the ethics package on the table is simply about having a bit more oversight than the current zero oversight, because, again, nobody can do anything about this unless Congress changes it. Your view on sort of how we got to this point and what it means to have Republicans potentially blocking even a vote on such a basic measure tonight, 6:30, 4 p.m. in the D.C. Senate, and they're still going.
Yeah, I mean, the context here, and I was surprised to learn this when I got into this reporting last year, is that the Supreme Court, paradoxically, given that it's, one of the most powerful bodies in our government, has very few binding ethics rules. Like, I can't tell you how many calls I got from ordinary federal government workers after we did this reporting saying, they can't even take like a $50 lunch or T-shirt or something like that. And Supreme Court justices were taking, as you mentioned, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars worth of travel and other gifts, including, by the way, in Justice Alito's case, travel from a hedge fund billionaire whose hedge fund actually had cases at the court that Justice Alito did not recuse himself from. So this sort of thing would not be allowed for ordinary workers in the federal government, even Congress, not known as necessarily a paragon of ethics.
To be clear, this is also true for the military. Like, this is actually true for the military. If you're a commander and you host a foreign whatever, and you get a gift from them, you have to give it to, I forget if it was like public relations or something, but you cannot accept foreign gifts. You literally, foreign gifts in this case for the military, but you cannot accept gifts of a certain value as federal employees, as they just said. Even just regular old interns could not accept these kinds of gifts because of the ethics involved. And that's exactly why the military can't run for office either. Like, you could be a full bird colonel, and if you're active duty, you can't run for office because you could use your military influence to influence the election. Whether that influence is because you're in the military or you're getting your entire unit, wing, group, whatever, to vote for you because they have no choice because you can make their life a living hell if you didn't. So this is exactly what they're talking about. And the fact that this needs to even be discussed in any way, form, or fashion is kind of shocking considering these policies are already in place. So why would the Supreme Court think it's above the law and then not just
has much stricter rules than the court. So that's the context. I think people
really
can
good
disagree about whether there should be stricter rules. The bill being proposed here would impose
6 minutes. Man, all these videos are super short.
Tighter rules. I don't think you're going to see this become law anytime soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, and we're charting that again as they work into the night. And
the only microwavable bacon of its kind is here.
Did I not just press the mute button? The hell is this thing doing?
Raw to crispy in a few electric minutes.
Jonathan Lemire officially deciding he's going to hang his American flag upside down.
No,
because the Red Sox
not.
lost last night.
I did text that to you.
It was actually a neighbor.
No,
that you have raised that you're doing it for. What?
Yeah, there are pictures taken. But yes, we will get to it later this morning. But the Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, American flag at his home hung upside down, signal of distress, done in the days after January 6th. It was a symbol of the Stop the Steal movement, and it was hung at the Justice's house. He blames his wife.
You know, Willie, blaming the wife thing for people in public eye in trouble, that's going around.
Don't ever do
that.
that.
You know, I'm scared of you. I would never do that. But Willie, this circles back.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. This thing is frustrating the hell out of me. Apparently, I have the YouTube channel above the chat, and it's still getting interrupted somehow. Go all the way up. Now stop.
To these people, and I will say these.
1 minute they're saying we already have it, there's no need to keep piling on a law after another law. Then the next minute they're saying they have to reinforce an already established law. And then they're saying if they create more ethics laws, it's just going to exacerbate the existing situation and make it harder for justices to do their jobs. Which, again, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about corruption. And so the Republicans that we've been hearing have been tacitly supporting corruption in the courts because it's benefiting them. And that's the part that is being
these people, these
oversighted.
Trumpers,
Actually,
spent their entire life attacking people for being insufficiently patriotic, and then they lose.
Actually, I don't want to listen to
just hate
MSNBC.
America.
I mean, if we're gonna listen to something biased, let's listen to like a streamer or something. At least that'll be mildly more entertaining. Supreme Court controversies. Streamer. Is that how you search in YouTube? Oh my god, The View. Please, anything but that. The Chris Cuomo Report. MSNBC. More MSNBC. Who's a good streamer? Hassan? Has he been talking about this? 20 minutes. Hassan reactions, 35 minutes at least. But that was 5 months ago. That's not the thing we want. Lots of MSNBC. Go figure. A little bit of CNN right there. That's nice. Forbes breaking news. Hassan reactions. Okay, don't care about that. Well, we do, but that's not what we're looking for. That's kind of funny. PBS News. Oh, that's 3 years ago. Philip DeFranco. That doesn't sound. Considering, I forget the whatever his first name was, but DeFranco, I believe, was a Spanish dictator during World War II. Oh no, it was Franco, not De Franco. My bad. My bad, DeFranco. Okay. Supreme Court controvert. Supreme Court Thomas. YouTube, copy, Control-Shift-V. No? None of that? Literally cannot see. Paste as linked source. There we go. Uh-oh, I think I'm about to get eaten.
Reach more shoppers. From URL to IRL. See how PayPal can help you grow.
Oh my god!
I want to start with the numbers 9 and 6.
What? Listen.
9. That's the number of justices on today's Supreme Court. Everyone knows that. We learn it in school.
Second.
It's been that way forever. The founding fathers wanted 9 justices, right? Well, actually, no. There's nothing magical or sacred about the number 9. The Constitution doesn't dictate the number of justices, in fact. And that's where the number 6 comes in. The size of the Supreme Court has changed 6 times in our history. 6 times. That piece of trivia is right there on the Supreme Court website. When the court first met in 1790 at this building in New York City, there was a Chief Justice and 5 Associate Justices, 6 in total. In 1863, a 10th Justice, Stephen Johnson Field, took his seat on the bench. Yeah, there were 10 justices at that point.
Oh my God,
the court settled on its current size of 9 justices in 1869. Which, yes, is a long time ago. But the point is that the number is not set in stone or even in parchment. Just ask Mitch McConnell. He kept the Supreme Court to only 8 justices for more than a year after the death of Antonin Scalia, blocking President Obama from filling the seat with Merrick Garland.
One of my proudest moments is when I looked at...
Hold on. If that was a linked source, why wasn't it playing? Okay, so it was playing. All right. So,
Barack Obama,
shut up. All right, so I just nearly got murdered. Well, no, I did get murdered by a giant, a literal giant. The case for expanding the Supreme Court. That's not what we wanted. That is definitely not what we wanted. I guess we only get MSNBC to talk about this. Cause we just bagged on Destiny. Hey, I just saw my my chats. First of all, I never claimed to be good at this game. Second of all, I was standing in the middle of the world, paused, while I was trying to fix the stream because it wasn't playing what I wanted it to play, and I had to recreate the stupid screen, because by trying to hit backspace or delete or whatever, it deleted the actual element. So first of all, okay. Second of all, that was a giant, okay? That was a giant, and I was trying to run away from it. And I failed. And this is literally a brand new game, okay? This is literally this was began 20 or 30 minutes ago. So, none of that. All right. Let's see. Wow, okay, I missed a bunch. All right, my bad. The view irks me. Bunch of toddlers wanting to desperately walk out on stage and wave at the audience like they're royalty. Yeah, I agree with that. My grandparents almost had to flee Spain to not be killed by Franco after the Spanish Civil War. They fled to Argentina and met Che Guevara. Not almost, they had to flee to Spain. But this boy has an uncle in the Supreme Court, so he can get the Constitution just for president's son can run for vice president. Yeah. Corruption. I took a look back. All right, it's fine, I don't care. I guess we're just gonna have to deal with that. Can I X that out? XSplit might be better off for several things regarding streams, but it is tedious to work with chat, let me tell you. Let's see. I can literally not get rid of that. I took a look back on if she were my daughter, what? Those buffoons were treating it like it was totally innocent to say, oh, yeah, that's creepy as hell. I thought you were saying your daughter for a second. I was like, yep, nope, Trump, got it. In my country, something funny happened. Our president's son is the mayor. He was running for vice president, and the law says you can't run for vice if you're under 40 years. But this boy's uncle was in the Supreme Court, so he can get the Constitution just for the president. Yeah. Hello, AZV. We already discussed that I'm not bad at this game. I'd say go back to the Galapagos, to the turtle, like I've done before in this moment, but now I believe the Galapagos tortoises banished him. Oh, Mitch McConnell? Yeah. Your grandparents made Che himself? That sounds like an interesting story. It is an interesting story. She's told it many a time. And if she's willing and, desirous to do so, she is more than happy to do it. I thought that was Keenan, like... oh my god, okay. SCOTUS. Oh, that's pretty wild. Maybe TYT again. Supreme Court Thomas TYT. There. 14 minutes. 9 minutes. 4 minutes. All right, we're gonna do this one.
Consider this your sign to stock up on sign.
And these freaking... I even signed in, so I don't know why I'm still getting these ads.
$1 million. To give you a sense of how that looks in chart form,
all right,
take a look. Can you see where Justice Thomas is on that bar chart?
I am not a combat veteran. I volunteered and got denied because I was fresh out of basic. So they sent some guy who had a year and a half in, a wife and a kid instead. Oh, so I thought there was more to that story, but I guess not, or at least I guess not. At least not on chat, right? Right?
It has been said that look where your treasure is, for there your heart will be also.
Conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has collected a whopping $4 million throughout his career, $2.4 million of which he raked in over the last 20 years. He is not the only Supreme Court justice who might have had his Supreme Court decisions swayed by luxurious trips. However, the amount of gifts that Justice Thomas has collected outpaces the other justices combined. Take a look.
Justice Elena Kagan's calculated to have received gifts valued at just under $1,200. That's over 20 years. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg over $59,000. Again, over 20 years, $3,000 a year. Now, Justice Samuel Alito taking quite a bit more, $170,000 over 20 years. But none of that is in the zip code of the ballpark of Justice Clarence Thomas, whose gifts totaled over $4 million. To give you a sense of how that looks in chart form, take a look. Can you see where Justice Thomas is on that bar chart? The big red bar on the left? That's Clarence Thomas compared to all the other justices who served during this time.
So this data comes from the watchdog group Fix the Court, and to review, Thomas collected $4 million in gifts. Antonin Scalia came in second with $175,000 plus in gifts received in the last 20 years. Alito took in $170,000 in gifts. Former Justice John Paul Stevens took in $79,000, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg took in $55,000. The issue here is whether these gifts are influencing any Supreme Court decisions. And NYU professor Melissa Murray believes that in a way they do. Take a look.
It has been said that look where your treasure is, for there your heart will be also. Right. And it's not surprising that some of the individuals who have been linked to some of these gifts, like the Koch brothers network, which has had Justice Thomas speak at donor events, for example, happens to be deeply involved in a set of major challenges to the regulatory state. These are cases we're still waiting for the court to decide, but we already know at least where the Koch brothers would like Justice Thomas to be. I guess now we're just waiting to find out have they made enough payments on it. I don't know, but that's kind of where all of this is going. There's been a lot of reporting, some of it by the New York Times last year, about this Justice Thomas complaining about his small judicial salary, which is actually quite significant relative to what other Americans make, and how maybe he wouldn't stay on the court. And all of these very wealthy interests were like, no, no, no. Let's figure out how to keep you on the court and keep you happy. And suddenly you see the money start rolling in.
So if you're wondering how they collected this data, how they broke it down,
this is why I don't play first-person shooters.
On that. Across all the years and all the tabs, we count meals and lodging as 2 gifts, and we count each leg of a round-trip flight as 1 gift. So it's 2 gifts per round trip, and unless otherwise stated, we assign the cost per hour of a flight on a private plane to be $10,000, which can range from $5,000 to $25,000, depending on plane size and other circumstances. And remember, thanks to reporting by ProPublica, we learned last year that Justice Thomas was not disclosing these gifts, which was, of course, unethical. As a result of that reporting, he had no choice but to finally disclose that billionaires like Harlan Crow were showering Thomas with luxury vacations and more material gifts.
Danger.
When his disclosure form was released to the public, Justice Thomas included an unusual addendum, a statement defending his acceptance of gifts from Harlan Crow, a real estate magnate in Texas and a donor to conservative causes. He had inadvertently omitted information on earlier forms, the statement said, which also sought to justify his decision to fly on private jets. He stated that he had been advised to avoid commercial travel after the leak of the draft opinion overturning Roe versus Wade. Due to mounting pressure, the Supreme Court also finally adopted its first ethics code last November. But there is no enforcement mechanism, and there is no process in place to handle ethics complaints. What's even more infuriating, there are no specific restrictions on gifts, travel, or real estate deals. Now, Maz and Francesca,
are you kidding me?
Do
This
you
man
think
could be
this
given like buildings
revelation
and
is even
stuff?
going to make a difference? If there's no enforcement mechanism, it's all self-reporting. They do their own report, they investigate themselves, and then make a determination.
I thought there was
Is
gonna be more
anything going to
lobbying.
change here?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference?
You know who doesn't
If you hit the
care?
join button
Me.
below, it's going to make all the difference.
Because I'm not your sponsor, so shut the hell up with that.
This had to be done by a Fix the Court, like a watchdog organization, and still Justice Thomas is freaking out about it, and still Sam Alito is freaking out about it, and like, it just, doesn't it feel like there's no bigger admission of guilt that yes, I am bought and sold by billionaires to weigh in, not just on cases that could affect them broadly, whether it is like labor law, right? Whether it is environmental law, but specifically the thing.
All right, let me catch up on, oh no, seriously? Seriously? Really? Really? That's what we're gonna do right now? That's what we're gonna do right now. I don't know many details other than that. Yeah, okay. I'm a big fan of the Che Guevara. That's awesome that your grandparents met him. That is kind of cool. In fact, I have a picture where I had a Medicare for All hat, beret on, and some outfit. I was a little bit more scruffy, and I had a bit longer hair. And I basically looked like Che Guevara. It's pretty fun. Oh, so he won't come this far. That's good, at least. And let's see. What do you think about the AI companies training their AIs to become woke? Like AI image generators which change color of white luminaries. If I'm understanding the question, you're saying, is AI trying to whitewash history? Yes, I know this for a fact because when I was trying to iterate my artwork for my game Esoterra, just to see if I could create scenes which would dramatically improve my iteration time, every time I said I want dark-skinned or African or Middle Eastern, it consistently gave me white characters. Consistently gave me white characters. So AI is 100% racially biased. And it's a problem. Have I ever finished the game? No. I literally just beat the first boss on my other playthrough earlier before this stream started, just so I could get used to the controls. And I died like 20 times before that. You did look like Che in that picture, that's right. Maybe you can you look that up on my social media real quick? I have never once heard of AI making white Americans, like white leaders, black. I have not. Other than like, hey, what would JFK look like if he were black or something like that? That's about the only time I can recall something along those lines being the case. I do not know how to play this game. Right, so. Yep, just stay there and take it. Alright. He's going hunting. But I'm probably going to be running out of arrows if I keep this up. Damn it! Why? I'm so used to hitting X for attack. Hold on. Run. Okay. So there's something happening here. What? Bro. That footprint thing, I know, is some sort of rarity. But now I'm distracted. All right. Keep
like
listening.
Paul Singer having a hedge fund owner having a case before the court and yet was fly fishing with Sam Alito. Like, these are people who are getting what they pay for. My thing with this and the fact that it's so outsized for Clarence Thomas is like, he's gonna rule your way anyway. I feel like he's taking y'all for a ride. You know he's a conservative. You could just give him a little bit less. He'll still rule in your favor because that's what he believes.
I think after this report has come out, he's going to do the right thing and step down.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. No.
Nice.
No, I mean, it's
well.
a joke. It's a joke. I mean, the amount of money that's in there. And by the way, we're not even looking at the indirect ways that he has things happen for him. For example, there was this article where Leonard Leo, who's another conservative billionaire, funneled some funds to his wife, Ginny Thomas. So these guys have ways of doing mob stuff where the only difference is the mob walks in and slips the money in the guy's hand. Hey, don't forget who's taking care of you. But this is at
which is why we have ethics policies
I mean,
in this
that's
country.
The sad thing about all this is all
the
of these things, especially when we were younger. Now, obviously,
in our federal
the
government
Supreme
at
Court
one point
was never perfect, but when we were younger, we were taught that these are people who are to be respected and who will, base their decisions in tradition and in being scholarly and the right thing. And we find out that it's beyond. I mean, if this were one of these like suspense thriller movies, you'd be like, oh wow, what an extreme thing that they've set this up, where there's a Supreme Court justice who's in on it, who's getting bribed for all these things, and then we're going to find out at the end, that he was basically doing all this, and he's probably got tens of other millions of dollars that we're not seeing that are hidden elsewhere. So it's disgusting, and it's ridiculous, by the way, for a layperson to go, wait a minute, there's no check against this?
Yep.
This is just allowed? That's just what's crazy.
And remember, Alito bitched and moaned about signing that ethics code. Like, he did not want to sign. He had a whole editorial in the Wall Street Journal that was like, how dare you make me sign an ethics code? I am the ethics code.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple factors here.
Hold on. I'm still working on the balance for that.
A good portion of the American population, because of
is that better?
Institutions,
can you guys still hear it?
The government, whatever. I mean, the Supreme Court is.
Let me. Of course, it's going to give an ad right now.
That as it relates to the government. How can you,
AZV, is that better on the volume first of all? And then let's see, Ruben Farah. You asked, what do you think about AI like ChatGPT, which suggests woke ideology? Again, it's not woke ideology, and ChatGPT most often gives you a response based on the questions you ask it. So if you're trying to do a bait and switch of conservative talking points and trying to catch me up to it, that's not going to happen. I've used ChatGPT. It leaves a lot to be desired. I even paid for it just to see if it was any better. It still leaves a lot to be desired. It's a useful tool for drafting, maybe, to help you get your ideas on paper in a fleshed out way, and then you go in and edit it. But it's if it leans one way or the other, it's definitely leaning towards conservatism. But you also get what you get out of it, what you put into it.
As a layperson, look at this and think we should trust it. We should see it as an entity that.
Now, I don't really remember.
When you have, even in response to requests
what I was supposed
for hearing in the Senate, Justice is just saying no.
It's certainly not that.
And you have Democrats saying, well, this is unacceptable. Senate Democrats just coming off their foot tweeting, someone's got to do something. That is just
oh my God.
Please do anything beyond just tweeting. But
subpoena. I want to see them defy it. I mean, Steve Bannon's going to jail, joining Peter Navarro. Let's go. Let's subpoena the Supreme Court to actually testify. Again,
oh my God.
They're saying there will be actual consequences. Heaven forbid we expand the court. Heaven forbid. And this is the other thing. It's like, oh, it was the greatest democracy on earth. Oh, yeah, separation
he can heal. That's
power, you know, executive branch, judicial branch, legislative, you know, it's all great. Like, literally, this has not been on the books. You can accept gifts no matter how much, so long as you report it, and even then they don't want to report it, and we're supposed to believe in this justice system.
I don't think I'm really going to be able to beat this guy.
When they're right all week long. It's been a week of this. The justice system is rigged against Donald Trump and all of the...
He got his tentacle back. Oh my God.
No, man. The justice system is bought and sold by billionaires and the likes of, I mean, Trump wishes he were at level, but, you know, here you see that before our very eyes.
There's another element, though, something you said. No, totally. That's a good point. You talked about him taking it for a ride. I think it's part of that. But also, he seems to be so willing to...
The Uchi Gucci Tana and the bleed effect. Let's go! No, get up!
The arguments that he has made against affirmative action, against affirmative action, maybe for segregation.
My goodness.
There are some stances he is very clearly willing to take that no other justice will, and maybe they see him as a conduit in laying the foundation.
Trying to maneuver this guy.
You've looked at, I think it's on YouTube now, but it was on Frontline or PBS documentary on Clarence Thomas, and it just shows you his evolution to where he got, and then it just shows you also the craziness that is Jimmy Thomas.
Oh my God, I can't believe I pulled that off.
People are doing the things that they do, including Samuel Alito, and now his upside down turning.
There's more of them. I'm not doing that again.
That was about. But the fact is that, you know, when you were saying subpoena these guys, it's crazy how quickly Republicans will try the false equivalency, and they'll say, well, if you subpoena them, then we're going to start subpoenaing left-leaning judges for whatever in the next administration. And you go, listen, if they committed a crime, subpoena them. But if they didn't commit a crime, or if they didn't do something shady, then don't subpoena them. And in this case, there's a lot of shade, and we need some answers.
Version. There's a meme version of that.
The next person below you.
So that should have opened the link. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's copy and we'll just paste it in here real quick. No? Save image. Then add source. Image file. Look at that handsome lad. You can call me Che Guevara. I even had the Che Guevara belly. But anywho, thanks for sharing. Try to get the Sword of Night and Flame. That is certainly something I will try to do. I don't know where it is, though. Right now, we're just explorating. Let's see. I made a meme. Revolutionary bod, indeed.
Which happens to be the other guy on the court who is also
coming
through with a lot of pro-billionaire, pro-conservative decisions.
Isn't there
Francesca, you were saying how there's
I could have sworn there was
a
flame out here.
Sections of government. It's really billionaires are the if those
there isn't a map,
would be
right?
Under the billionaires.
Oh, there is.
Really, after Citizens United and the sort, billionaires have really just run amok and they're doing
could have
whatever
sworn
they want. And here we are, seeing it yet again.
There was one right around here somewhere.
Into the Supreme Court. It's one thing when you hear that, oh, members of Congress are taking a little money here and there, or a lot of money here and there, to do things that big corporations want. But once you start hearing that judges who are supposed to be neutral are doing the same, I mean, I want my judge to be taking the bus to work, not a private jet, and then making the excuse that, oh, after Roe versus Wade, I had to get on private jets because people were upset. Well, if people were upset, then maybe you made the wrong decision, dum-dum.
I mean, let's be real, Clarence. People hated your ass before, Roe. Come on now. Everybody hated you. You just made that up. But can we talk about, like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, $55,000? That's it. And, like, you know that's all in opera tickets. Like,
I know there's hidden walls in this game.
But, yeah, no, hey,
but seriously, you come all the way down to the beach?
For, one of the highest
and there's not a thing?
Is kind of
that seems,
recipe for
that seems not correct.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges.
Oh my God. Stop self-promoting. Stop. For 5 minutes, stop self-promoting. My God. I mean, I guess that's what you're supposed to do as a Twitch streamer, as a YouTuber. But yeah, that's pretty annoying. How long is this? New reporting, 11 minutes. No, that's 2 weeks ago. What else is in the news? You know, we could just news. All right, let's just look at the news. Let's see what can we talk about right now. The David Pakman show. Oh. This could be interesting.
How auto mechanics remove car
I think David Pakman leans
seconds or less. This
conservative.
8 Sleep makes a product that is amazing, which
seriously, bro, immediately with the
340
ads,
people, but continue to decline, much broader decline, by the way, than anything we would just say is thanks to Joe Biden.
All right, let's get to the meat, shall we? Okay.
People around
now back to the
former
game.
President and convicted felon
He's
Donald
a centrist.
Trump
okay.
Are starting to float the idea that he shouldn't go to the debate with Joe Biden. That is scheduled for just
a centrist. You mean between the Democrats and the Republicans? So he's a fascist.
From the first presidential debate, June 27th, between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And Sean Hannity is now floating the idea, you know, maybe Donald Trump shouldn't go. And I can assure you, Hannity wouldn't be doing this unless this is something someone floated to him, and probably someone close to Trump. So we'll get into it in a moment. Take a listen.
Best gamer ever, right here.
Some even saying, Mark, that Donald Trump might be wise to just pass on the first debate, wait till he's nominated, then debate him. What would you say to that?
I cannot hit this thing.
So do not be confused here. There are some people saying is code for this has been fed to me with Trump's approval. Hannity wouldn't randomly start talking about Fox News, which is a agenda set for the right. Fox News is an agenda-setting network.
I was gonna try and defend her, and it's like
agenda-setting show. He would not be saying it unless this was the message they were starting to push. And by the way, in a way, it makes sense that maybe Trump doesn't want to show up and debate. Did you see his rant over the weekend about sharks and batteries and MIT? If you saw this and asked yourself, how is this guy going to hold it together for a debate with Joe Biden?
He didn't hold it together in a debate with Hillary 8 years ago. What do you mean?
Epitomizes why it makes sense for Trump to be rethinking.
Yeah, there's the birdies.
A very short period of time.
So I think I need holy magic or something to kill them, and I don't have that.
Because of MIT, my relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight, and you're in the boat, and you have this tremendously powerful battery, and the battery's now underwater, and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today.
What on earth
really that angry they
is he talking about?
Young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the
Why
battery,
is he talking about this at all?
Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted?
I mean, maybe he has ADHD, and we're judging his mental illness.
Nobody's ever asked me that question.
You know, maybe he isn't senile.
I said, I think it's a good
Maybe
question.
he's
I think
just
there's a lot of
ADHD,
electric current
folks.
coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
Oh no. Sir, I'm gonna need you to turn the hell around.
Are enough to make anybody think twice.
I was trying to see if I could recover my runes.
President of the United States. So they are
I've only died
to lay the groundwork
once
for Trump to back out
by him, and I don't remember where I died, so
16
that's
days
not
to go.
helpful.
Hannity's mentioning it because it is an approved message now. Will Trump back out or will he debate?
I hope he backs out, because honestly, it's elder abuse at this point to put him and Biden together.
Or will he back out? And by the way, if you think it's Biden who's going to back out, let me know. The
What
MAGA
in the
right
hell?
is insisting that Biden is going to have some kind of epiphany, some awakening in the next 16 days. Or his staffers will say, he's demented, we can't have him debate, and that it is Biden who will back out. If you believe Biden will back out of the debate, by all means, let me know. info@davidpakman.com. We'll see what's on people's minds as far as this goes and follow up on it.
Hey, and if you guys really want to see presidential policies and the future of the country, go to www.samronan.com. I can do selfless, shameless self-promotion too. Also, go to my About Me page and click on the tabs and figure out and learn how to connect with your elected officials and then yell at them, because they definitely need to be yelled at.
Or it can heat your bed up, which can
Got
be
him.
in the winter or for muscle relaxation. I keep mine on
There
the
you go.
cold setting. It is a great feeling to sleep with one of these. I just wake up more refreshed. And science has
Are
shown
you
that the
seriously
lower your body
promoting
temperature at night
beds
can let
or
you
some
sleep
nonsense?
better
Stop.
and feel
Dude.
Period. So things continue to decline for Rudy Giuliani. As I've said before, there is a sort of Greek.
All right, we're not
tragedy
watching the
going
David Pakman show anymore.
It's not about
Because we are definitely not going to be doing dual sponsorship crap. What the hell? Is everybody seriously out to make a buck? Is that literally? Am I literally the only one? I shouldn't be going off on a rant because my throat's really killing me. Am I really the only one that's trying to do something effective on this channel? Am I literally the only one that's trying to engage with the American people? Am I the only one that's trying to facilitate some sort of growth within the community and civic engagement? Or am I? Because selfless self-promotion at the beginning and in the middle of the stream of his video production, not even a stream. And I need to move. I just realized that giant, I'm right in his freaking path. But like, are you kidding me right now? I am genuinely trying to engage with people to help show them that there are people out there that are willing to fight for the right reasons, that politics isn't this big, scary, icky thing that needs to be ignored, but rather something that should be embraced and that we can re-educate ourselves on and then spread awareness of. And instead, we're finding Jesus crucified. I'm in the wrong spot then. We're gonna rest at that spot real quick, but yeah. Trying to do some content over here, and all we get an American in China. Okay, that's weird. Oh, is this an actual debate? Megyn Kelly and Trump? Staffers.
If you're a homeowner in New Hampshire and you're still paying for electricity, then you're missing out on free government assistance to go.
For today's show, we're going to bring you something a little bit different from what we normally do. We have strong voices from the right and the left to have a deeper discussion on today's political headlines, including the meltdown in response to this Wall Street Journal report on President Biden's mental health. And the two guys we're going to use today to walk you through all of this are Hogan Gidley. Hogan was White House Deputy Press Secretary during the Trump administration and Press Secretary for the 2020 Trump campaign, and David Pakman. David is a progressive political commentator and host of The David Pakman Show on YouTube.
Guess I can't.
Well, let's just kick it off there. We're going to talk about D-Day in just a bit, but you know, whenever I see these ceremonies, very stirring. Makes me proud to be an American. Makes me wish we had the kind of unity and love of country that was near uniform back then. We don't. Things have changed, but I don't know, Hogan, how do you think about the 80th anniversary today?
I was over there actually with President Trump, I think at the 75th anniversary. Still something that stirs my soul to this day, talking to those people who were there. I did some work with Elizabeth Dole in the past too. She does honor flights, bringing people from that war over to this to DC to check out their monument. It's just so interesting to see how many people
Can we let this person down?
sacrificed everything they had to go stand up for freedom.
Hello?
The alliances we built as a country, the common thread we shared,
Oh.
the love of America.
Y'all are probably
regardless of the
thinking, what am I
dark
looking
days
at?
that every country faces.
Whoops.
We had something unique and different. We came out of those dark times more united.
Ruben, you're beginning to worry me, buddy. We're not going to be watching Tucker Carlson because we're not giving that cretin a platform on this channel. The only reason why we're even watching this particular debate is because it's better than the shameless self-promotion and advertisement for revenue that Pacman was doing. That isn't to say that we're only going to listen to left-leaning individuals to create an echo chamber, but we're also not going to listen to the Tucker Carlsons and the Ben Shapiro. Well, I guess we will listen to Ben Shapiro on occasion, but Tucker Carlson is even more disingenuous, if that's possible, than Ben Shapiro. And the reason why we're going to watch Ben Shapiro is to shit on Ben Shapiro and highlight how much of a dunce he actually is and a fake intellectual.
More understanding of our common enemies, our common friends, and we've lost so much of that. You touched on it there in the open. It's so frustrating because when you see an event like this and this, this occasion marks such sobriety of what these
I would get
teenagers
murked
did,
there too, so let's avoid that at all costs.
And you compare that to today. I mean, I think the definition of bravery has really taken a hit in the last several decades.
Yes.
You can go march in a parade.
Oh yeah,
you
it's
can
super
stand up
brave
and,
to
for any political
harass
topic
minority
du jour,
groups.
and that's somehow brave. It's not the same bravery as those kids had going and storming into that beach. No question about it.
It was only 600. Never mind.
Yeah. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Hogan says, big picture. It's interesting that he left out the example of how bravery has been perverted. I'm sure he knows that Trump once said avoiding STDs was like his Vietnam, which of course is another example of what I would point to as a degradation, so to speak, of what counts as bravery these days. But no, I mean,
was
listen,
humor.
Big picture.
Humor? That's still not
Trump,
something you joke about.
Big picture, I do have a real concern, not just with the way in which a lot of young people aren't learning history, they're not learning critical thinking, they're not learning a lot of different things that I wish they were learning, and certainly World War II history is part of it. I'm with Hogan right there.
Mm-hmm. I know it was, Bert Hume was tweeting today about having covered the 50th anniversary and how it was just one of the most stirring things he's ever done. And then you go to the cemetery, which is right there, and you see just the rows and rows and rows of crosses and American names all over them. And we always think about the 40th anniversary, which was when Ronald Reagan was in office and went over there in a speech written by Peggy Noonan, who's, God bless her, still with us. And, it just makes you feel the thing. When you said teenagers, Hogan, it made me get that, you have, the chill, oh, my God. You think of our teens today doing something that big. And here's just a reminder for those of you who haven't heard it, a little bit of Ronald Reagan at Pontohawk talking about it.
Their mission was one of the most difficult and daring of the invasion, to climb these sheer and desolate cliffs and take out the enemy guns. Soon, one by one, the Rangers pulled themselves over the top, and in seizing the firm land at the top of these cliffs, they began to seize back the continent of Europe. These are the boys of Puente Hope. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. You all knew that some things are worth dying for. One's country is worth dying for, and democracy is worth dying for because it's the most deeply honorable form of government ever devised by man. All of you loved liberty. All of you were willing to fight tyranny, and you knew the people of your countries were behind you. The Americans who fought here that morning New word of the invasion was spreading through the darkness back home. They felt in their hearts, though they couldn't know, in fact, that in Georgia, they were filling the churches at 4 a.m. In Kansas, they were kneeling on their porches and praying. And in Philadelphia, they were ringing the Liberty Bell.
Why are we listening to Reagan?
Oh, I mean, just that kind of, that's exactly what happened, right? But I can't help but watch that, Hogan, and think, how did we go so wrong? You know, that
if Reagan is right,
American military.
If Reagan is doing things the right way,
God knows, but on our leaders and our policy choices in the 21st century, I think has got
we're basically coming full circle. What are you talking about?
This is something that is unifying us today. Feeling very reluctant to be pro-military in terms of our endeavors, not the guys, but like pro-war, pro-American intervention. We've just learned to be very distrustful and to see these missions as about something very different, maybe money, you know, the so-called military-industrial complex.
But that's exactly what they are.
Don't necessarily
Lady,
have our boys
what are you
and young
smoking?
women now in best interests at heart, the forever wars that take us nowhere. I don't, it's like, well, look at the difference in those 80 years between the way America and Americans feel about the military and our endeavors.
They weren't happy about Vietnam, lady, and they didn't want to go into World War II either.
I think that's hard to accomplish in today's society because you have an entire political party who continues to tell the American people that our country is the cause of the world's problems. We're the root of all evil. And I mentioned the difficult times we've had in the past. That's not unique to America. It is uniquer that we come out of those times usually more unified. But that's hard to do because Democrats, writ large, basically apologize for America all the time. They go on the global
because
stage.
we are being aggressive bastards, and we shouldn't
while we
be.
do have issues, don't get me wrong, we used to share a common thread of respect and love for one another because we lived in the greatest nation, the greatest idea ever realized. And so there's a reason that countries like Cuba and people around the world walk through their streets holding our American flag and chant liberty and freedom because they know what so many on the left
Are they still doing that, I wonder? Ever since the way we've been treating Palestinians and aiding Palestine?
And that's hard to unite behind when half of the country doesn't believe it.
Because
what's your response, David? What do you think?
No, I mean, listen, there's a reason why Hogan and a lot of other former Trump folks and wannabe Trump folks and current Trump folks are saying things like what Hogan's saying. Democrats are a huge problem and they're apologizing and all these things. These folks are desperate because they've lost everything since Trump won by 77,000 votes in 3 states in 2016. And let me lay this out, Megan, if I can. It's been 8 years. After that sweeper in 2016, they blew the 2018 midterm. Trump got defeated in 2020. The 2022 red wave led to Democrats growing their margin in the Senate. 2023 was a disaster. After repealing Roe v. Wade, every referendum on abortion has gone the opposite way. So there's an incredible desperation. And I have to say, Hogan, this is not a personal attack in any way. You seem like a really nice guy. We don't know each other. There's almost an affirmative action with these Trump folks where if these were football coaches that had lost everything for a decade, Kayleigh McEnany wouldn't be on Fox News. We wouldn't be going to Hogan and saying, give us your state. They've lost everything. And somehow, through some kind of affirmative action, I guess we still hear from them. But they're desperate, Megan, because this has gone sideways for a decade.
Wait, what are you suggesting, David, that because the Republicans have had a rough couple of electoral cycles, everyone who is on Team Trump should just go underground? They shouldn't speak anymore,
no,
even though
by
he's
no means.
No, but maybe you should stop being sociopaths.
No, I'm glad to hear from Hogan, but there's a degree to which we would say, wait a second, how could his analysis, or it's not about Hogan, how could any of these analyses really accurately reflect reality when these are the analyses that lost them everything in what, 4 or 5 years in a row? I would approach it as cautious.
Go ahead, Hogan, what do you think of that?
Yeah, okay. Let's unpack that. By that rationale, I guess we should never hear from Hillary Clinton either. She lost.
I don't think we have heard from Hillary Clinton
loses an election, you can't
in quite some time.
Worked in a White House, worked in the administration shouldn't have a say-so in what's going on in this country. Of course, this is a battle between those who love America and those who hate America, because the positions of both parties they've been clearly articulated now for a long time.
Oh my God.
And so I think moving into 2024, as we kind of reset, and now we've lived under failed policies of Joe Biden for the last 4 years, where Americans have been kicked in the teeth. They can't afford gas and groceries. Crime is spiking all over their communities. Wars are breaking out all over the world. The southern border.
I almost backed myself into a corner. That would have been bad. Got him.
I think the stark reality of the fact that we've got an upcoming election where these two men uniquely have a record, not as a governor saying, if you elect me, I promise I'll do this. I'm a senator, I did this for my state. Both of these folks were president. The records are stark. And the juxtaposition where we used to have to point back to Reagan, Megan, you just played an incredible speech. Remember how good it was in the 80s? We can say we had record-setting success in record-setting time 3 years ago. It took one guy.
Who's Bukele? Is that this guy?
To tear us down this quickly. So this election, no question, is going to be significant for the future of America. But to say someone who lost an election or wasn't part of the winning team who shouldn't have a say-so is so insane.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, of course I'm not saying they shouldn't have a say-so. What I'm saying is at this point it seems clear the American people see through it, and the people who lost 5 elections in a row are not the ones I'd be listening to on policy. Now, with regard to a lot of the stuff that Hogan mentioned there, we can go but one by one or not. I mean, just to pick a couple of things, because there was a lot there. You know, on inflation, I mean, listen, groceries and gas, they were even cheaper under Obama. They were even cheaper under Bush and cheaper under Clinton. I mean, yes, there is inflation. We have not had a deflationary spiral, but inflation is about 3% right now, which is what every serious economist says is the target. With regard to the record right now, unemployment, I mean, it's almost silly for me to do this because the American people know, but we've never had unemployment below 4%. We've never had unemployment below 4% for this long in 50 years, and it remains there. Wage growth has outpaced inflation. GDP is a completely normal and healthy 3%. You know, it's like people know.
Why don't you try immigration? Because that's in the news today, David. Take that one up.
Okay, let's take as immigration.
I mean, ask me a question about it.
Are we doing better under Joe Biden when it comes to illegal immigration than we were under Trump?
How do you define better?
Fewer.
I don't think so,
People
actually.
Continue to cross over illegally as they have for, 100 years, 200 years?
So it's the same.
I think that one of the funny things that has
That's
happened
not honest.
is that for months...
No, I think it was right. I think the Biden numbers are higher. I think that's true.
That's dishonest.
They are technically higher.
You're saying don't trust the Republicans on their messaging, and you come on here and want to tell me that it's the same? Like, they're just continuing.
No,
there's been no increase.
There have been periods...
A couple of months ago, we had 10,000 a day crossing the southern border. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry, I think we're all talking over each other.
Now, you know,
go ahead, David. The floor is yours. Wait, Hogan, I'll bring you in, but let me defend that. Go ahead, David.
Oh, okay. No, listen, I mean, based on the Border Patrol statistics, there have been times during the Biden administration where crossings have on average been below where they were under Trump. At some points, they were above that. The funniest part to me about immigration is that
president of El Salvador.
The Republicans themselves torpedoed the bill they wanted because Trump said, no, I need something to run on.
Yeah, I don't know anything about El Salvador.
Biden puts in place this limitation, which, by the way, doesn't solve.
I take that back. I do know something about El Salvador.
Judges. I'm glad
they are
now.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could be, El Salvador, first sovereign state to adopt Bitcoin as currency. That's what I know about El Salvador. So, Bukele, do we need to watch about him? Do we need to do that? Or do we just keep listening to this debate? It's actually helping me.
They're still not happy, and they're saying, well, it's only for political reasons. Why do you think Trump wanted to do this? It's also for political reasons. So this seems like a political game to me when the reality, Megan, is we never permanently deal with DACA. We never permanently deal with the reasons people even want to come over here in the first place. It's a lame
U.S. foreign policy.
Wow. Okay, go ahead. It's fascinating to be for me here. I have to say, David, I appreciate you coming on the show because we don't get a lot of progressives, and they know I don't really agree with them on most things.
I don't know why not.
I actually really appreciate you being here and saying, the way you see these things and the way the left views these things, because it's actually educational.
Well, I don't know about the left, but listen, I'm on the left.
I'm sorry. Well, I need to
Countries
step
have a
away
right to
from the
enforce
encampment
policy.
before I
If
trigger
you're
them
here
and before I
illegally,
get,
of course, you're subject to
aggroed. But
deportation. I mean, I think that there's a caricaturizing that.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna hurt myself with my voice. I know that's gonna happen, and bear with me as I go on this little rant, this little journey, if you will, and we'll do it. We'll do it right here. Come on, let's go to the next screen, you piece of garbage. Man. All right. If David Pakman is the left, then what does that make me? Because, yes, fine, the border crisis is a crisis compared to what it was by the numbers. And it's a crisis because Republicans have been refusing to govern during the Biden administration. And during the Trump administration, they were literally selling to the highest bidder the worst possible reforms or policies to deal with the border, i.e. building a literal wall that was literally circumnavigated by milk crates and ladders. Genuine, just regular milk crates and ladders. So you can cry all you want about the border crisis, but it's not like any of the Republicans took an actual intelligent approach to it in the first place. Secondly, Biden just initiated the Republican wet dream in terms of creating a stratified small funnel for asylum seekers and entry points for lawful entry into the United States. So the disingenuous commentary, for one, and then for David Pakman to be the one that they invite on the show as the left. I would blow their minds, I think. I think they would just honestly have no idea what to do if I got on their show and I was like, yeah, I would actually, I don't know, fulfill our promises to these DACA immigrants and, I don't know, the people who enlisted in our armed forces and actually grant them citizenship. And you know what? Yeah, we should make the citizenship process a little simpler, a little easier, a little cheaper, a little better. Why? Because U.S. foreign policy is causing this immigration crisis in the first place. So yes, we do have an obligation to deal with it and handle it in some sort of fashion. So why don't we just grant workers visas to every single one of these immigrants? And then when they have paperwork and identification numbers and we can put them towards American Works programs, rebuilding our infrastructure, developing our communities. Meanwhile, they're paying into taxes. Meanwhile, they're not being taken advantage of by unscrupulous business owners. Meanwhile, they're still going to do all the jobs that we don't want to do, such as picking fruit in the fields, except this time they'll actually get paid a living wage. Like, there are solutions to this problem that isn't draconian measures. And as president, those are actually my policy positions. But he is also shooting people in the street and violating human rights. Yikes. I'm assuming that's Bukele. Oh, Bukele is a woman. Okay, that's scary. Before that many people are killed by criminals, not many were killed. If you're a president and criminals are in control of my country, criminals aren't... First of all, hold on. Criminals are already in charge of the country. As we have spent most of 3 hours going over today, one in particular, Justice Thomas, is the most corrupt Supreme Court justice in our history, who took $4 million worth of bribes and then made decisions based on those bribes. So that's criminal. We have a former president committing crimes during their administration, going after political opponents. That's criminal behavior. Of course, nobody's going after that. We have the cabinet members that he appointed deliberately dismantling social safety nets as cabinet members. That's illegal. It should be, if it isn't. Or if it's, the vested private interest. What else? Oh, the myriad number of Congress people with insider trading, to include Nancy Pelosi. The myriad numbers of members of Congress who pass discriminatory legislation such as abortion bans. The myriad number of Congress people and senators who support giving arms and armament to Israel to commit genocide against Palestine. Our country is filled with criminals. So immigrants aren't going to be the problem. Immigrants, again, even if MS-13 is sneaking in through the cracks, guess what? They will have documentation. They will have identification. We can put them through the international criminal lists. And then when we find them, we know where they are. We know where they went, and we can go after them. Again, if we actually put our police forces and our military and this, that, and the other towards the purposes they actually were supposed to do, which is to protect our interests and to protect our communities, if the law enforcement would actually go after organized crime and white-collar criminals instead of brown people, black people, and poor people, imagine how much of an improvement our country would have, how much safer our country would be. So none of that nonsense. Girly Gamer 86, welcome. And the whole immigration process is classist and racist and slow as hell. Correct. It 100% is. And it needs to be streamlined. Well, you're just trying to open the borders. Let's have some real talk. I'm trying to make a horrible situation better by giving these people gainful employment that'll be productive in nature, provide a greater good for America, and facilitate future growth and job creation and economic growth for Americans all across the country. So by speeding up the naturalization process, speeding up the green card process, speeding up the visa work process, we will be just, what's the word? Exponentially improving our economic throughput. It'll be like putting nitrous into a flame. So why would we leave that potential growth and that expansion of our benefit? I mean, the expansion of our country, of our population, of our ability to function. Why would we just literally keep them at the border and terrorize them and keep them in concentration camps? I'm sorry, detention centers, separating their children from their families. I mean, going through the protocols and then losing their kids in the foster care system for some odd reason, which is human trafficking. Oh, I'm sorry. Just doesn't make any sense, right? So, but if I was on any of those shows, they'd be like, what a psychopathic, ultra left-leaning, wants to get rid of the government crazy person. It's like, no, buddy, that is barely left of center of the actual graph. The Godfather was white people. Yeah. I don't know what point you're trying to make, though. Here are some examples of what Bukele was doing during the COVID lockdown. Are these criminals? A young man reported being shot twice in the legs by the police after being stopped. He had left home to buy some things he needed and get gas after just getting paid for his work. 48-year-old woman who works to protect human rights was detained as she went out to get food and medication for her 3-year-old son. She was locked down in a detention center for over a month. Anyway, we're gonna go clear out this camp of baddies and hopefully get some armor upgrades. Oh, this wasn't the right thing. I needed to be in this channel so we can play the game. All right, buddy. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Really? You didn't dodge. Still not dodging. There it is. That's what... Wait, why isn't this playing?
Happens of the left on this issue. I'm an immigrant from Argentina.
Ruben, I'm not entirely sure, based on what you wrote, what you're asking me. I'm really not understanding. Are there cases where immigrants have caused criminal activity in America? I never denied that. I'm saying the overwhelming majority of immigrants to America are desperate, starving people who are fleeing U.S. foreign policy that disrupted or destroyed their homes in their countries in Latin and South America. And if those countries cannot handle the refugee crisis and they make it all the way to our border, instead of acting like tyrants and dictators and authoritarian sociopaths, we can create humanitarian solutions to that particular problem. And as president, that is exactly how I would approach it.
You know, we came.
All right. Why on earth Do you stop playing?
Legally, I'm now an American citizen. People still write to me and say you should go back to Argentina. But listen, I don't want the left characterized as something that it isn't on this issue. You'll never hear me say a country
I think I
doesn't
have
a right
them
to enforce
dead to rights.
laws.
Otherwise, we'd have different policy. I mean, Hogan, you worked for the Trump administration. The first thing that Joe Biden did when he took over was to reverse the three principal things that Trump was doing to stop the flow of illegal migrants across the southern border between Mexico.
That is super loud.
The asylum seekers en masse and the
that's probably
construction of the border wall. He shut it all down. He sold off all the parts. You couldn't even try to rebuild the wall thanks to what he did.
That's because the wall was stupid and a waste of money and time.
First things first. You notice Dave said most economists will tell you that the correct percentage. I know that's a bad impression, Dave, but nonetheless. Yeah, economists don't matter in this scenario. The American people do. They're paying more for simple goods and services that they weren't paying under Donald Trump, and they know that. It's like a tax heaped upon their head. As far as the border is concerned, because I was in the White House during this, and I had a lot of fights with press folks about this very topic. Joe Biden looks around and acts as though these things are just happening to him. They're happening because of him. In large measure because of the policy.
They're happening because of deregulation of business and lack of enforcement of, price gouging.
And then have them vote Democrat in perpetuity.
People never mention the mass deportation of people to Mexico in the 50s, who many were most likely American citizens.
First of all,
or the fact that half of America was Mexico to begin with. So it's kind of
all these changes, but somehow that requires
a misnomer in the first place that they're in the wrong country.
He did it because it's going to get enjoined, and the courts are going to step in and say, no, you can't do this. And he can say, see, I was going to do something, but the Republicans wouldn't do it because MAGA and Trump said they couldn't. You realize the Senate had a bill that could not pass the Senate. The House had a bill. That was H.R. 2. The Senate won't take it up. And the reason you know what Joe Biden wants to do won't secure the border at all. Forget the nuance of it, even though we could go through point by point and show you how it doesn't. The media and the left love it. If it actually secured the border, they'd want no part of it whatsoever. So to hear the left try and
securing the border, I love that rhetoric because, first of all,
Donald Trump is absolute.
It disregards the fact that the border is an imaginary line, for one. For two, it disregards the fact that historically the border is Mexico. Second, it also disregards that Mexicans are indigenous to this continent. Third, you literally cannot secure 2,000 miles of land. The Great Wall of China is a testament to that. You don't see. I mean, honestly, it's kind of laughable the kind of conversations that would have to be had to really even get into this. Let's see. Many countries start to not use the U.S. dollar now. It'll be a big problem to America. It will, because again, American interventionism is not making friends. And these other countries are like, well, we're not going to do trade then if you're just going to give democracy to everybody against their will. By, overthrowing socialist and communist elected leaders for fascists. El Salvador is doing so great that there's an immigration crisis from El Salvador to the U.S. Are you going to tell me that they are all criminals? Right. Give me a second. Correct. Girly Gamer 86. The crisis is South America, or in South America, is because of the U.S. foreign policy, which is another reason why, if we should be engaging in trade and improving relations with anybody, it is literally the people who can walk to our front door and have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should be making life as easy as possible for Latin and South Americans, and we would want to indenture ourselves to them, ingratiate ourselves to them as best as possible. I'm going to play this, but I need to step away. Actually, no.
Now, thanks to Democrat.
I just saw the time. We actually need to wrap it up. 7 o'clock. I can't really be doing much talking anyway at this point. But real quick, I'll go ahead and save the game, and we'll pick up on this probably tomorrow because, yeah, I did more talking than I intended to, and I know I'm gonna suffer from it. But I appreciate y'all coming in. joining the stream. We're going to be playing video games tomorrow as well because, again, my throat is killing me. So we might not be making it past 7 tomorrow either. But I do appreciate everyone supporting the channel. I do appreciate everyone's continued, engagement. Remember to like and share the channel, spread the word out there, and to also spread the information that's on the About Me page, which is how to contact your elected officials and how to write them, unless you just want to yell at them, in which case go right ahead too. But that's what this channel is about. Engagement, civic engagement, and community growth for a purpose, not just to lavish me with your warm fuzzies and your accolades and your support. So, on that note, Girly Gamer, Ruben Faras, AZV, Oshun, and everybody else who is watching, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 4, and hopefully my throat will be doing significantly better, and we won't have nearly as many technical difficulties, because I'll make it a point to have resolved them. So, take care.